Hi everyone, this is Virginia Knowles, and I thought I would take a little time talking about time. I know a lot of us have been wondering about this lately with the shelter-in-place order starting several weeks ago, and a lot of schedule disruptions. I think a lot of us thought, after a few weeks everything was going to go back to normal, and maybe we weren't thinking we needed a whole new daily routine or anything. We would just get up each day, do the things that looked like they needed doing, hang out with our families at home, just take things as they came. And, that worked for a while, winging it. But the longer this has been going on, and even as the shelter-in-place restrictions are being lifted, I realize this is going to be a much longer transition, and schedules continue to be disrupted, and I need to make the best use of my time, develop some new routines, and get some stuff done. So each of us has a certain amount of time. It's a gift. It's an opportunity to do the things that matter to us, whether it's work at a paying job or, bless our families or grow as human beings or serve the community, whatever it is that's important to us. And when we think about time, we realize that we each have to make choices. When we choose to do one thing, it means we're choosing not to do another thing. For example, I enjoy playing Free Cell and scrolling through Facebook. But after a while, I have to say to myself, I've spent enough time doing this, and now it's time to move on to something else that has a more lasting impact, so I might delete Free Cell off of my phone for a while. And so sometimes I wish I had the time to do things like organize my storage room or plant flowers or write a blog post. Well, I do have the time. It's just that I've been choosing to do things that don't matter as much. So I have to make the choices about what it is that I want to see happen in my life and what it's going to take to make that happen. And in most cases, it's just a lot of focus time and energy and effort. So how do we do that? That's a good question. Each of us has so many different areas of responsibility, whether it's a paying job or caring for our families or helping kids finish out the school year online, or maybe you're in school yourself. I just finished my second year of seminary, and now I'm planning for my summer internship that starts in a few weeks. And so we have home responsibilities like dishes and laundry and repair projects that need to get done. And then we can't forget our own health, like sleep routines. Mine have not been so good lately. Good nutrition, again, a weak area for me, and exercise. Now, my daughter and I had finally gotten into a routine of working out at the Y 3 times a week, but that abruptly stopped. Everything closed down. So I eventually set up an exercise corner in my bedroom with a stability ball and hand weights and a pedaling machine and a step and things like that. But it just sat there for a week or so. And so now I'm trying to incorporate those into an evening routine. So, besides those things, we can also take time to nurture our spiritual growth. You might have spiritual practice that you do, like, reading scripture or writing in a prayer journal or meditating or whatever it is you do each day to nurture that. So we have all of these areas, and we have to figure out how we're going to integrate them all into a system. So we try to look at that big picture and see how they flow together and what the potential conflicts are and how each area supports the others. But how do you actually do that each day? So I'm just going to walk you through what I'm trying to do. I'm not an expert at this, but this is what I'm working on. Like I said, I just finished a semester of seminary. I've got about 3 months until the new school year starts for me and for my teenagers. And so I'm trying to plan out what all of that is going to look like. What kind of daily flow will help me get everything done. So once my internship starts in a few weeks, that and my regular job will take about 35 hours a week. That's pretty much a full-time job right there. Plus, my teenage daughter is continuing 2 subjects of homeschooling all summer. I've got house projects. I want to get some personal reading and artwork done. I really want to up my game with cooking for my family. All sorts of things I want to do. How am I going to get it all done? Here's my strategy. So, first of all, I look at daily routines. Steve Scott has a website called developgoodhabits.com. He calls these habit stacks. So it might be a morning routine or an evening routine of the little things that I have to do that might get lost in the shuffle. It just makes life easier in the long run if I do the same things at the same time every day, and I'm still trying to break into that. For example, in the evening, I should straighten up my bedroom, spend a little time reading and reflecting, exercise, take my medicine, take a shower, moisturize my face, brush my teeth, go to bed, turn on my CPAP machine, and listen to a prayer app as I get ready to sleep. Those are all good things for an evening routine. So I could post a little list of these somewhere in my room or put a list on my phone and my notepad. I can set alarm on my phone for an evening routine. But the key is to do the same things pretty much every evening so I get in the habit. It doesn't seem so strange. I don't forget everything. It gets done in an orderly way. And after the daily routines, the second thing to think about is scheduled commitments, especially those that involve other people. For example, I work from home for United Way's 211 resource hotline, which is 24/7. I have to be on the phone for several hours, 3 afternoons or evenings a week, and I obviously don't schedule anything else during that time. The house has to be pretty much quiet, dog has to be at the other end of the house, all those kinds of preparations need to be made. I also have regular Zoom meetings for church or for seminary classes, and my church has those regular online, weekly services as well. And so all of those take priority on my calendar. They're things I do with other people, and so, we do them at the time that needs to be done, and everything else works around them. And after these schedule commitments, the third scheduling consideration is any bigger projects that require hours of focus. So I want to be able to set aside a bigger chunk of time to organize a whole room, or I want to be able to, write a research paper draft or something like that. I certainly don't want to do that haphazardly or randomly, so I set aside a larger block of time. If it's a really big project, I might break it into manageable sections with logical stopping places, or I might delegate part of it, or I might do it with somebody else. Like last week, I cleaned out the refrigerator with one of my teenagers. We got it done faster, he got some life skills practice, and we spent some time together. So there are ways to get those bigger projects done without going crazy. I might also have some medium-sized tasks, like running errands that take an hour or two. And I might wedge these in between the other scheduled items or the longer projects. At this point, knowing my scheduled commitments, my bigger projects, and my medium tasks, it's good to write out a list of what I'm planning to do that day. It should have everything in a fairly logical order. So if I do my best brain work in the morning, then studying comes first in the day. Or if I'm setting up my backdrop, like that, and putting on a little bit of makeup for a Zoom call, I may as well make a video right after that, like I'm doing right now. Or I might think, what has to be done first before I can do this other thing? So if I have to run errands, I try to group them together and sequence them by location and other considerations. Like if I'm going to go to the post office and the grocery store, I go to the post office first, because then I'm going to have to come home and put the cold groceries away afterwards. And even before I leave on these errands, then, I should take inventory of the foods I have and plan my menus, or better yet, I should have ordered online a day ahead of time for curbside pickup. All these things that you can think of on how to do things in the right order. And the final, another thing in my schedule considerations is I might have a bunch of little tasks that I can do in 10 or 15 minutes each. So I keep a list of these in my Gtasks app on my phone for when I have some unplanned time. And if any of them are urgent, I put them on my daily agenda wherever they fit best, like, making a phone call to the doctor's appointment early in the morning to get the appointment for that day. Then for the rest of those little tasks, I can say things like, oh, I've got a half an hour here. I wonder how many of these things I can get knocked off my list. I can make a phone call, fill out the form, do that grocery pickup, order online, or vacuum the living room, whatever that small task is. And so the last time, for example, that I wanted to go inside a grocery store to shop for a few things that we really had to have for dinner that I had forgotten in my online order, my son insisted on doing it for me because he didn't want me getting exposed to germs. So I took that half hour in the parking lot and cleaned out my van while listening to music. I was just taking advantage of the opportunity to do a logical thing that I had been putting off for way too long. And finally, I have to plan buffer time for the unexpected. A teen might need emotional support, or I may be super tired and need an afternoon nap because otherwise I'm not going to have the energy for anything else. Or I may have a creative idea that I need to jump on before I lose the inspiration, or a project might just drag on longer than I had originally planned. So I have to leave a loose enough schedule that I can be available for those things too. So here's a quick review of that overall strategy. Number one is those morning and evening routines. or other routines, throughout the day. Number 2 is the scheduled commitments, especially those things involving other people. 3 is those big and medium projects. The 4 is those random little things that can fit in around the other items. And 5 is that buffer time for the unexpected. So those are just some ways to incorporate all of the responsibilities into the available time. I don't want any of this to be shame-inducing. I want to give myself a lot of grace for when things don't turn out the way that I planned. But I do want to look back on these days and months and say that I took care of my family well and that I accomplished what I set out to do. And I want to see that I'm making progress in my habits and my productivity level. And I see this as a way to equip and empower myself for the future. It builds confidence and it brings me joy. So I hope all these thoughts have been encouraging to you. I pray that God will bless you in all your ways and all your days. And until next time, you all take care and God bless.